Let's take a gander at who you're going to have to fork out some serious cash for on DraftKings. Some of the heavy hitters, top-priced hitters. Nolan Arenado, no surprise. Bryce Harper. Manny Machado is off to a scorching start. And then Byron Buxton rounding out the top five there, $5,500. DraftKings contributors Garion, Thorne, Steve Buchanan, Rotowire's Erik, Halterman are here. We're going to take a gander, a little MLB batting practice, so best DFS and sportsbook plays. We're talking the 6-game night slate tonight. Before we do that, Steve, what was up with that umpire yesterday? Like the whole massaging of the hand, that seemed a little weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's got a soft spot for country boys. That's the only thing that I could come up with.
But how, don't you think the league should do something here?
Absolutely. And they should be doing things with umpires for a lot of reasons. That's just one of them. But, with how bad the pitch calling has been, now we got him massaging Madison Bumgarner's hands, seeing what kind of lotion he uses. It's getting a little weird.
All right, Erik, wait, what are we doing here? I get it with the hand. Here, you want to try it again? Right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so what should the league do to Erik Bolino here? Is that his name? Yeah.
I think this is really what's holding robot umpires back. I don't think they give very good massages, so I think we're probably a few more years away after that incident.
Garion, does Major League Baseball have an umpire problem right now?
I mean, for a number of different reasons, sure. Probably should institute, sort of how you have to be 35 years old to be the president. You should probably have to be under 45 or 50 to be a major league umpire. That would be a good
idea.
I didn't know that.
I also think, Erik can back this up probably better than I can, but I think the KBO has probably the best system in place where umpires, if they make a mistake, are demoted to the minors. There's an actual grading system for their umpires, and they are, their job is on the line. I know it's a little tough with the umpiring union here, but there has to be some sort of accountability for being bad at your job.
You got a must-roster guy tonight, Garion, pitcher or hitter?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Byron Buxton. I think he's going to be relatively popular tonight. I don't really care. He's in the lineup, I'm pretty sure. He got the night off last night. The Twins are being understandably cautious with Buxton. I feel like he's going to get probably at least one night off a week. But going up against Spencer Watkins, who has just struggled immensely with right-handed batters so far in his career, a 4.22 WOBA within the split. He's allowed the 179 righties he's faced in his career to compile a 342 batting average. And he's also just a low strikeout pitcher, just a 10.5% strikeout rate. You do not want Byron Buxton getting batted ball events. He has barreled up 25% of his batted ball events so far this season. That's why he leads baseball in isolated power and slugging percentage. So I think this is the perfect matchup for Buxton. Like I said, he'll be popular, but I think he's a really good starting point for your lineups.
All right, Bukes, we're talking just the night slate here, 6 games. Who's your must-roster guy?
Manny Machado has been on one as of late. Double-digit fantasy points in 7 of his last 8 games. He has been absolutely crushing the ball, kind of carrying the freight without Fernando Tatis Jr. in that lineup. Tonight he goes up against Jesus Luzardo, who is pitching more like the prospect the Oakland Athletics thought they had, but then they traded away. He's been pitching much better, but Machado against lefties has always been the sweet spot for him. You look at some of his numbers so far this season against lefties, not a ton of plate appearance against him so far, only 28, but in that span, 562 WOBA, 375 isolated power, and a 274 WRC plus. Those are some pretty damn good numbers. So on a slate that isn't overly big tonight, I think Manny Machado at third base is definitely one of the plays to make.
His teammate Eric Hosmer is ridiculously hot right now, Steve.
Yeah, he's actually not hitting ground balls. It's amazing.
Eric.
Guy gets married, and now he can hit fly balls. It's incredible.
I know.
Not a coincidence.
And he's expecting a kid, in the next few months as well. It's like that early dad strength. Eric, is there someone who's not going to hit ground balls that you like tonight?
Wow.
Yeah, I like the guys, those two mentioned at the very top tier. If you go down a little bit at the 4,500 range, I like Austin Meadows. He doesn't have a homer yet this season, but he's doing everything else, hitting 299, 393, 390. Good for a 139 WRC plus. And he's seeing the ball very well. An 11.2% walk rate against just a 13.5% strikeout rate. He hasn't had huge strikeout problems in most of his seasons, but he hasn't been a guy who makes this kind of contact either. And I think that power should come eventually. We're talking about a guy who had 33 and 27 homers in his last 2 full seasons. One of the reasons I like him here, especially, is he's facing Jose Urquidy, who is not a guy that I'm a particularly big fan of. He has plenty of fans. Coming into the year, he had a 3.55 ERA. That was beating some of the ERA estimators by about a full run. Doesn't really get strikeouts, especially this year, down to a 15.1% strikeout rate. And yeah, he doesn't walk people, but he gives up so much contact, and that contact is in the air with a ground ball rate under 30%. I think Meadows hits his first homer of the season tonight.
Bukes, who you want for a value play? Give me the best guy in your opinion.
Yeah, Max Kepler should be back in the lineup tonight for the Twins. Twins are getting a lot of their lineup back here tonight, presumably. But going up against Spencer Watkins, who spells his first name really strange, but I'm not going to hold that against him. That's his parents' thing. But Watkins, you look at his numbers across the board. Got a 2.55 ERA. Looks nice. Then you got a 5.19 FIP. Something's coming, and it's going to probably come tonight against the Twins. Kepler is really quietly starting to put together a solid run as of late, averaging 10.2 DraftKings fantasy points over the last 10 games, 4 home runs, 2 doubles, 9 RBI in that span, only 3,500. Those are some pretty good numbers for somebody who is near the minimum at 3,500. So if Kepler's back in the lineup tonight, should have a good spot in the lineup going up against the righty. That is obviously where he hits well. Probably batting 5th tonight, so at 3,500, feels like a bit of a steal.
Gare Bear, hook me up with your value play.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a little assumption that Jose Altuve and his very sore groin are not going to be playing in tonight's game. Maybe that's a bit presumptuous, but it's at least a situation to watch out for. And if Altuve is not playing, that means the Astros are going to need a leadoff hitter, and it's probably going to be Chas McCormick, who is just $3,000 going up against Tarik Skubal. I like Skubal, but he's still a left-handed pitcher who has been prone to the home run ball in prior aspects of his career, although he's kind of smoothed that out a little bit so far this season. But McCormick, 304 average, 129 WRC plus so far against left-handed pitching in 2022. And like I said, he has primarily been the Astros leadoff hitter when Jose Altuve has been unavailable, specifically against left-handed starters. So if you're going to get the Astros leadoff guy for $3,000, I almost don't need a name. It's just Astros leadoff hitter for $3,000, and you stick that person to a lineup.
Erik, best value play tonight.
We've already talked about a couple Twins outfielders, and there's a third who, if he's in the lineup, I'd love to get, and that's Trevor Larnach at 2,500. He's hitting 300 this season. That's probably not going to last. It comes with a 450 BABIP, and he's striking out over 31% of the time. But he's hitting the ball hard, a 10% barrel rate, a 47.5% hard hit rate. And that was his profile as a prospect. We expected to see some contact questions, which have held him back from really taking the next step at the big league level so far, but he is expected to hit the ball hard. In Camden Yards, where they moved left field back, shouldn't affect him as much as a left-handed hitter. We've already talked, Steve has talked about Spencer Watkins, how attractive of an opponent he is. We're talking about a guy who has as many walks as strikeouts this season, really didn't show anything at all last year either. For his career, he's at a 6.72 ERA, so I want to load up on the Twins. And anybody cheap with the platoon advantage, if they're in the lineup, becomes interesting in this matchup.
Okay, let's go last one here, guys. Which game are you targeting for a money line or run total bet, Steven?
Yeah, there's not a lot of overly attractive plays that I like on this slate here. I think the Mariners as underdogs at plus 115 is something going against the Rays, not just because Robbie Ray is taking the mound. I mean, that's obviously a big part of it there, but yep, Gary loves that too. He gestured. He loves it. He loves Robbie Ray. But going up against Shane McClanahan, I mean, honestly, really two strong starting pitchers taking this one here. But I like getting the Mariners at the plus money at plus 115. That Rays bullpen has been a little inconsistent as of late. So I think getting the Mariners at plus 115 is one of the better underdog plays you can get on the board tonight on a board that, quite frankly, underdogs don't look overly attractive.
Gary, and you feeling that?
I mean, I just love Robbie Ray. I'll forever love Robbie Ray.
Right.
A lot of money. A lot of Robbie Ray money. I'm going to look at the Marlins going up against the Padres. And this is just a spot where I think Nick Martinez, regression's going to hit him really hard tonight. I mean, you look at not even like his advanced numbers, just some baseline stuff. If you're walking 5.5 guys per 9 innings and giving up 2.3 home runs per 9 innings. That's bad. Those are about the two worst things you can do. A 93% strand rate is not going to continue to save this guy throughout the entirety of the season. There's a reason his expected ERA is 6.64 heading into tonight's start. And I think the sneaky thing about the Marlins is they're a really good offensive team. They sort of retooled this offseason and got just a bunch of big power bats, add in sort of the emergence of Jesus Sanchez and obviously the continued emergence of Jazz Chisholm. They're the fourth best team by WRC plus across the last 2 weeks. They can hit. So I would probably say my favorite bet in this game is just taking the Marlins team total. It's 3.5 runs. I like the over there. But in terms of a money line bet, I think the Marlins at -110 going up against Nick Martinez with Jesus Luzardo on the mound, who's pitched really, really well so far this season. I think they're undervalued there.
Erik, hook me up.
Well, first I got to say on my short list was the opposite side of that Rays-Mariners game, in part because Shane McClanahan is having what could be the start of a Cy Young season. He's been one of the best pitchers in the league this year. And I love 2021 Robbie Ray. So I love 2022 Robbie Ray with the strikeout rate down to below 21% and his velocity down as well. It's not my top bet just because Robbie Ray did look better in his last start. His velocity was back up and he struck out 8. So I'm a little scared to take the Rays at, I think it's -135 now. But for an underdog, I do like the Tigers +130 over the Astros. It seems like it's moving in their direction. It was +140 earlier. I already talked about how I don't trust Jose Urquidy at all. Gives up way too much contact, and that contact is in the air. Tarek Skubal on the other side, I do actually quite like 3.05 ERA, and it's supported by his underlying numbers this season. Isn't striking out as many guys as he did last year, but his walk rate of just 3.4% and a ground ball rate over 50%. He's becoming a more well-rounded pitcher. If you go back over the last calendar year, he now has a 3.89 ERA, nearly 27% strikeout rate, and a walk rate under 6%. So I think he is a good deal better than Urquidy here, which gives me enough confidence in the Tigers at that +130.